Let's go on to our player ratings, and we'll start off with Vicario. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Really important save in the first half to deny Danny Welbeck. Really outstretched save. There are a couple of moments playing out the back, which was a bit dodgy from Vicario, but I think everything that he had to do in terms of goalkeeping, I think he did really well.
Yeah, he made a really good save from Matoma as well in the first half. I think the first half, he obviously made 2 really good saves. I don't think Brighton had a shot on target in the second half, so he didn't have too much to do. I thought the corners, Vinge, I was watching from the corners, and it was interesting that we did decide to act, and Maddison was kind of protecting Vicario a bit. He was blocking off Welbeck, making sure he wasn't kind of impeding him. So I thought he played well. I thought those 2 key saves in the first half really kept in it, stopped him from being 2 and 3. So those were big moments. And then second half, he didn't have too much to do. So don't think he could obviously save the penalty. But I agree with you. His passing out the back wasn't great. There's a couple of occasions he had to, played out play and wasn't the best. But I think the big saves were big moments. So I gave him an 8.
In terms of Pedro Porro, we give him a 6 all round for him. I thought he struggled massively with Mitoma yesterday, as any fullback would, to be honest. That's just the quality of Mitoma, but a lot of chances were coming through him down his side. The one late on with Ansu Fati as well came from Mitoma, getting the better out of Pedro Porro. And I felt like Pedro as well, like him impacting games, getting in the middle of the park, dictating our chances and being a chance creation machine. It's just kind of diminished in his game for the last few weeks.
Yeah, he wasn't really involved. He was kind of pinned back a lot by Mitoma. In a weird way, I thought there was some occasions he dealt really well with Mitoma and was really aggressive, but then when Mitoma was able to find a bit of space, like to go either side, then he started to struggle, and Mitoma had the beating with him on a few occasions. Obviously, he got in on goal to nearly score. He set up that chance for Ansu Fati late on in the game as well. That was down Porro's side. So there were times he struggled. I wouldn't say it was like he was like one of those games you got completely roasted, like in a game, because I did think there were also occasions where Porro was also getting the better of Mitoma, but he definitely had his struggles. But defensively, he was decent. Going forward, didn't have too much of an impact as usual, so gave him a 6.
Kuti Romero up next, 8th all round for Kuti. I thought it was a really good display from our captain on the day until Sonny came on. Specifically in the second half, he really grew into the game. He was getting high up the pitch on the halfway line, winning the ball back time and time again, setting us on attacks, getting really high up the pitch as well. Really aggressive Kuti Romero that we love to see. So it was a really good display from Kuti.
Yeah, I think I gave him my man of the match. I thought he was brilliant. I thought in the second half, he really stepped up, and he was a big reason why we took control of that second half. He was so aggressive. He wasn't giving Brighton an inch, and he's so brave with his passing. I love how he always looks for a forward pass into a good position, and more often than not, he finds it. I thought he was sweeping some lovely passes out to Werner as well when he was on. I thought defensively brilliant. I thought he was partner with Van de Ven. I thought they did really well together, especially in the second half. First half, he was good, pretty good, probably one of our better players, but maybe it wasn't as good as he was in the second half, and I think he was a big reason we stepped up, so really great from Kuti.
Mickey Van de Ven up next. 7's all round for Mickey. Came under a bit of pressure early doors. Lost that ball in the middle of the park, which set Brighton on the attack. Gave away the penalty as well. Whether you argue it's a penalty or not, he did give the referee a decision to make, and obviously it went and the penalty, and we go 1-0 down. But I felt like after that he did grow into the game, especially when he was in a foot race with anyone. he just wins it hands down. The speed that this guy has and the amount of times it gets him out of trouble is just unbelievable. So I thought after those early moments of dodgy period in the first 20 minutes, I thought he grew into the game and played pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought he did have a bit of struggle. Obviously, he does those classic, iconic, I think we should call them now, Van de Ven recovery tackles, where he's just coming, running over, and he's going to get to the ball first, wherever the player is, the opposition player. But he did get caught on the ball for one chance. He did give away the penalty, which I didn't think was a penalty. I've watched it back. I think it was a soft penalty. I think he's unlucky in that situation, but he did give it away, which he didn't win the ball. And also, I feel like the difference between Van de Ven and Romero on the ball is I feel like Romero, when he's on the ball, he just commands a bit of authority. He wants to play forward. He wants to be positive. And Van de Ven always plays it just a bit safe. Sometimes he can slow the moves down a bit when he's on the ball. He has this tendency, I don't know why he does it, because he's so big and strong, wrong. You know, you expect Van de Ven to be able to just stride forward and kind of carry the ball forward very effortlessly because of his physical traits, but he has this tendency to, when he gets the ball, just stand on it and just expect players around him to move for him rather than him engineering an angle to pass. And that's a bit frustrating because sometimes that can slow it down, and maybe it's instructions, because sometimes Romero does it as well, but I feel like Van de Ven, I would like to see him stride with the ball and carry the ball a bit more with his physical traits. That's something to improve on. But overall, pretty good performance.
Yeah, as well, something I noticed with Van de Ven is passing out the back wasn't exactly his strongest point on the weekend, which sometimes, you know, he plays lovely passes between the lines, and it just wasn't happening for him yesterday. So in terms of the last couple of weeks, probably his poorest display, but it wasn't poor by any stretch of the imagination. But let's move on to Destiny Udogie. 7s all round for Destiny, and I thought he played fairly well, to be honest. I thought defensively did his job. Didn't really impact things going forward like he usually does, but I think where he earned his money yesterday was definitely his defensive display.
Yeah, he had that sign on lockdown. Lamptey was getting a bit of joy at times, but that wasn't, I think, due to him. I think he was doing some really good stuff. He was earning free kicks. He was winning the ball back. They couldn't really go down that side. I think a lot of they did a couple of occasions, obviously, right at the beginning of the game where Welbeck gets in, but that was more Van de Ven giving the ball away. He didn't impact, similar to Porro. Maybe it was due to Brighton just penning us back a bit. He didn't really wasn't able to impact the game offensively, but I thought defensively he was top notch and a bit better than Porro at the back. So that's why I just gave him one more rating higher.
Rodrigo Bentancur up next. 5s all round from us. Another poor display, unfortunately, from Rodrigo Bentancur. Lost the ball on the edge of the box, which did ultimately lead to the penalty. And I just felt like he kept getting caught on the ball, Bentancur, in that first half. And maybe it's just he's not fully fit yet. I don't know what it is, but it's just not the same Bentancur as before the injury. There was a quote from Ali Gold today saying they didn't expect Bentancur to be back fully fit to see the best of him till next season, which might explain it. But I did feel in the second half that he was growing into the game, but they took him off. So maybe we would have seen a much better Bentancur if he stayed on the pitch, because I did feel like he was growing into the game, but because he got taken off at that point, you have to say it was a bad performance.
Yeah, but I would say if he was taken off at half time, he would have got a lower rating than that. And I think he jumped up maybe even a couple of ratings because he really improved in the second half and started to impact the game a bit. But he definitely looks off the pace. He's just a bit off it at the moment. You can see at the moment he gave the ball away. If you watch it back, he has a split second where he can very quickly pass the ball into Kulusevski and get us forward. He takes that one extra touch, which usually he wouldn't do. He's very usual, very good at decision making, when to release the ball, when to hang on to it, and maybe he's just not in his rhythm yet. But there's a number of factors. First, we'll come back from the MCL which took him nearly a year. He came back from that actually quicker than expected, and he looked dynamite. But then on the game, he comes back, he gets injured. So he's come back from a second now quite bad injury with his ankle, and then not only is he coming back from a second injury, he came back from that about a month early, which maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't say it was a mistake because we needed him at the time, but clearly he's not kind of in his rhythm right now. He's definitely not his best. He's not at his sharpest, and maybe he just needs a break at the moment, being on the bench for a bit. Maybe when he can come on against people who are tiring, he can impact the game a bit better, and maybe gets a bit more time on the ball than starting games against teams full of energy, pressing him, that kind of stuff. So I don't think there's anything to worry about long term. Right now, though, he is struggling a bit. It's no secret, and he's definitely not his best. But there's still glimpses, even when his game is not his best, of what he can do, and we all know what he can do. I mean, people have obviously some comments, oh, maybe we'll just sell him, people like that. It's like, come on, man.
So honestly, reactionary, man.
A few bad performances and you want him gone already. It's like as if this is going to continue forever. Yes, coming over all circumstances, it might be true. We might not see him at his very, very best till next season. But I'm sure even this season we can get him back to a better level than he's at now.
That's what you have options for. You know, he's had such a bad injury in 2 of them consecutively. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to take his toll on anyone, not just Rodrigo Bentancur. But what we got going for us now is Bissouma's coming back, and he looked really good when he came on yesterday. So for me, Bissouma has to start the next game, and maybe Bentancur use him as an impact sub and get minutes in his legs that way.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go.
I think that will be the plan.
But let's go on to Pape Matar Sarr. 8s all round for Pape, and it's so good to have him back in the Tottenham side. I thought he was our best player in the first half. The way he was just, I mean, what's that quote that they used to use for Kante? Because that is so relevant for Pape Matar Sarr. Like 80% of the world or something is covered by water, and the rest by Pape Matar Sarr. I mean, that's exactly what we saw yesterday. If you saw the heat map of his performance yesterday, he was everywhere, and he took it up another notch in that second half. Obviously got that goal, ricocheted off the post, and then found that really nice angle to put in the back of the net. He was just everywhere in that second half, and putting out fires all over the pitch, starting attacks, stopping Brighton attacks. I mean, the guy is a sensation for the age that he is at, showing the maturity that he shows. I mean, I love this guy so much.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought the way he started that second half, it was like he had a bit of authority about him. It was like he wanted to drag the team forward, and those runs into dangerous spaces is so hard to stop when you've got the energy and the pace of Pape Sarr, which he obviously showed for the goal he scored. And I thought he was excellent. He did definitely tire around the 70th minute, or not 70, like 75th, 80th minute, which is why Ange decided to take him off. He was starting to misplace some passes and things like that, and also he was on a booking and he'd already made a foul, so didn't want to maybe risk him getting sent off.
Yeah.
So he was rightfully taken off, but I thought for the time he was on the pitch, he was absolutely fantastic. Dragged us back into the game with the goal, and really underrated goal as well. Great run. His pass would have found Richarlison if it wasn't for the toe of Lewis Dunk, and then a really good finish on his weaker foot from a really tight angle with a really quick reaction time. So really great from Sarr, and it's so great having him back in the team.
James Maddison up next, sevens all round for Maddison. Another good display from him coming back from injury. I thought if anything was going to happen in the first half, it was all coming through him. Lovely ball to play Richarlison in. Unfortunately, Richarlison missed that opportunity going 1-on-1 with the keeper. But I felt like as well, towards in the second half, he started to show his influence in the game even more. And he just looks really dangerous. Anytime he's on the ball, you expect something to happen with the quality that he does have. And things were happening. I just felt he was sometimes let down with a few players around him.
Yeah, and I thought he was buzzing around. He was actually being a real problem for Brighton. Even in the game, even in the parts of the game we were struggling, he was the only one kind of stepping up, providing a bit of quality. Great nearly assist for Richarlison when he was through on goal. Brilliant through ball outside of the boot. Absolutely amazing. Then obviously had a shot from the edge of the box with whisk just an inch wide of the post, which would have been a great effort. He then... I did feel like in that second half he was good, really good, up until the 70th minute. Up until like Brighton started taking control. And when Brighton started taking control, obviously he got booked for a foul, and then he was kind of running around, and maybe he looked like he could put in a bad challenge, and he was starting to tire a bit. And Ange did have him ready to get taken off, and he was very much tiring. He was going to get taken off for Ollie Skip, but before he got taken off, Udogie kind of got a bit of cramp, so he took Udogie off instead, and that was actually a blessing in disguise, because Maddison for the winner right at the end. Brilliant piece of play to find Richarlison in space. Great on the transition. Really good build-up play, and he was fully central to that. So thank God he did stay on, because I don't know if we would have scored the winner if he didn't.
The guy has just so much quality, and I feel like he's not fully fit yet. And I think like game on game, I think he's slowly getting better and better. I think this was a better display than what we saw at Goodison Park last week. So it's all good signs from James Maddison, and a brilliant bit of quality at the end to start the move off for that goal. So brilliant stuff from James Maddison. I'm expecting even better because we were walking to the stadium in here, and I said to you, it's going to be a James Maddison masterclass today. It wasn't quite the James Maddison masterclass I was expecting, but a good performance nonetheless. But let's go on to Decky. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I was a bit disappointed with him in the first half. Didn't really stamp his authority on the game, which we know he can, which kind of like followed on his bad form, to be honest. But second half, I knew Decky came out for that second half, and I felt like he had the beating of Estepinian. He forced a lovely pass, wasn't it, for Pape Sarr's goal through the lines, and I felt like he was growing in that second half, and it was unfortunate to get taken off. I thought it was a bit of a strange move from Ange, but we did reap the benefits in the end, because then Brendan Johnson did get on the score sheet right at the end of the game. But look, I thought it was a good second half display from Kulu, but a disappointing first half display.
Yeah, but even in that first half, he didn't nearly score. Richarlison plays him in and forced a good save out of the goalkeeper steal. So even in that half, there was even a few moments where he showed a bit of quality. But you're right, he was influencing the game nearly as much as he was in the first 15 minutes of the second half, where he seemed a lot more confident. He was getting to the final third a lot more. And obviously that pass, brilliant. I mean, very underrated. So a great weight of pass into Sarr's path to take it in his stride. And obviously we got the goal from it. And I just think, actually, if I'm pointing at one mistake Ange made in this game, it probably was taking Kulu off too early. I think he kind of rushed that decision. He could have let him stay on for a bit longer, even if it meant he came off, maybe with 10 minutes to go rather than that period, and then Johnson comes on. We still could have had that moment where we scored the winner even then. I think we lost a bit of guile, we lost a bit of technical ability in terms of hanging on to the ball, passing him, moving, building, sustaining pressure without him on the pitch. When we had Johnson on, it felt like we just kept losing the ball and it kept coming back way too much. So that was a bit of a mistake. I don't know if he would think that after the game, but I did think in general Kulu played quite well and was unlucky not to be on the end of an assist, but was unlucky to be taken off when he was.
Timo Werner up next, 7 from Sims.
I actually gave him a 6. So I was wrong
6 is all round for Timo Werner then. Scrap that 7. But look, Timo, I thought in the first half, he was looking dangerous on that left-hand side. He was getting to the byline, he was beating his man, some good dribbling ability. But it was every time he got past that man and got into those moments, it was always really poor distribution, really poor balls into the box. There was that moment that Richarlison goes through on goal and it comes to Timo Werner from the goalkeeper, another drab shot. And it's like he was doing the hard things really well. And then when he got into those moments, you just left so frustrated every time. And I think he got rightfully taken off, Timo Werner, and he needs to learn how to have better end products. I felt like if he could have brushed up those kind of moments and showed quality in his crossing and shooting ability, we could have won this game earlier than we did. Yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see how he performs as like an impact sub potentially going forward, when maybe he's playing more against tired legs rather than fresh defenders. So I think that will probably be his role going forward. With Sonny now back in the team, Richarlison in great form. I don't know if he'll ever play on the right. I think in this game specifically, I don't think he had a particularly bad game. He was looking dangerous, but that is always how it's been with Werner. He looks dangerous, he looks like he's going to do something, but then when it gets to it, he just lacks that bit of composure, that bit of quality to pick someone out or finish a chance. I think he had one shot in the game in the second half, and actually you watch it, he did really well to engineer the shot. I think he dribbled past he went right into the center of the pitch, dribbled past 2-3 Brighton players, gets to the edge of the box, and then his shot was tame and weak and ended up going wide. And that's probably Werner in a nutshell so far. I think his impact since coming into the team, it's been positive, it's been good, but obviously I think it's pretty much the Werner we all expected. Everyone kind of was hoping, can he maybe perform better than what we saw before and stuff like that, but I think we're seeing what Werner is.
Sitting here gassing him up.
No, I think we were happy with it. But I think this is pretty much like what we expect from Werner, like a player who's going to provide a few assists and maybe get a few goals, but a lot of the time he's going to flatter to deceive, and that's probably what we expected. And at this rate, if he continues to perform like this, I don't know if it's going to be enough to justify a permanent deal, but he's still quite early on in his Spurs career because he can still definitely improve a lot. I still think he's got a lot to give, but he definitely can be frustrating like he was yesterday. But again, even in those games like yesterday, he still looks dangerous and he's still a player that you have to kind of deal with as a fine defense.
But it all comes to nothing. That's the ultimate thing. It's all very well and good getting up the pitch and beating your man, but once you get into those moments, you have to provide the quality at least once. He didn't do it once. And that's the frustrating thing about Timo Werner, unfortunately. But let's finish off from the starting 11 with Richarlison. 7s all round from Rishi. Another hard-working, dogged display from Richarlison where he just did not stop running, did not stop giving those Brighton defenders a moment's rest. Provided some quality as well with his link-up play, but then again, I was also left a bit frustrated with some of his link-up play as well. He goes through on goal, the lovely ball from James Maddison. Well, I just felt he picked the wrong option. He went for the shot, kind of opened up his body where the goalkeeper, I thought it was just the wrong move from him, where he should have just kind of faked the shot and gone round the goalkeeper. But look, I thought it was a hot and cold display, but I think it was more good than bad from Richarlison. But yeah, it was just probably a shame for him not to get on the score sheet again.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with Richarlison again. I thought his hold-up play was really good. He set up 2 chances, I think, in the first half, which maybe we could have done better with. I thought a few times as well, we played the ball into him and he was holding up right in the centre of the pitch, was able to turn, was able to start running on the Brighton back line and cause some problems. Obviously heavily involved in the winner as well. Good weight of pass into Sonny. You know, it would have been very easy for him to screw that up and get the weight of pass wrong or the timing wrong, but he got it all right, and we ended up getting the goal. I thought, yes, there were a few occasions, especially that moment in the first half where he runs the length of the pitch and he's got Maddison to his left and he's got a bit of space to shoot, and he ends up playing a really weak pass to Maddison and the chance was gone. That maybe he could have done better with, and that one-on-one. But I think in general, another really good display from him, and his overall game again showing its worth. So I'm still pretty happy with Richarlison. I thought it was a positive display.
Moving on to the substitutes, we've got 2 players to rate there, and Heung-min Son up first. 8 all round from Sonny. He came on, it seemed like, with a bit of a point to prove after a drab kind of semi-final exit with South Korea. It seemed like an angry Sonny, which I remember saying to you in the stands, and he came up geeing up everyone, looking very passionate on the pitch. And the first moment he came on, he got the ball, beating a few men and darting down that left-hand side of the pitch. But unfortunately, at that moment in time, it kind of coincided with Brighton kind of taking the ascendancy in the game. And then you kind of didn't see Sonny for quite a while. But Sonny does what Sonny does, and he provided the moment of quality. Nice ball from Richarlison, and he puts in basically a ball that Timo Werner was trying to do for pretty much the whole game, and it provided us with that moment of quality. Brennan Johnson at the back post, and it goes and wins us the game.
Yeah, I think Ange put it perfectly. A world-class player providing a clutch moment. Might have to start calling him Mr. Clutch soon, because that is exactly what he's all about, Heung-min Son, in those moments, those quality. And I completely agree. Like, when he first came on, you know, he was getting on the ball and he was looking energetic. He was like, okay, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to win us the game. And then Brighton just seemed to take control. So he was a bit out of the game, but he 100%, he was much better than Werner when he did get on the ball. He just showed a lot more quality, bit better decision making, quicker decisions, a bit more quality with his passing as well, which sometimes Werner can frustrate with. And obviously, when the big moment came, it's not an easy pass. There are 2 defenders there in the box, or 3 defenders, which he has to get the perfect ball right into Johnson's path on his, well, so I say a weaker foot. He doesn't really have a weaker foot, but he played an inch perfect ball right into Johnson's path. And yes, Johnson scored the winner, but the goal was pretty much all Son, because all Johnson had to do at that point, yes, it was bobbling a bit, but he just had to tap it into the empty net inside the 6-yard box because of the quality of him and Son. So as much as Johnson scored the winner, if Sonny was the match winner pretty much at the end of the day.
100%. Bissouma up next, 7s all round from Biss, and it was so good to see him back on the pitch, so good to see him back in the Spurs shirt, and I felt like he came on with a bit of authority as well in that centre of the park. He was definitely a big presence in there, a lot of interceptions, doing things that, you know, other midfielders weren't doing on the day. And I felt like, you know, with that performance, he has to be playing now, because he didn't do anything spectacular, but what he did do was really effective.
Yeah, it didn't seem, we didn't see that like uber confident Bissouma yet still that we saw like the first 10 games where he was like getting on the ball, beating players, just charging through the pitch and opening up space, and it was just so hard to deal with. But what he did do, he just gave us a bit more of a solid base. I thought defensively, he was actually cutting out some really good passing lanes. And then actually looking at the stats, he made 3 interceptions when he came on, which was more than any other player on the pitch throughout the whole 90. So that goes to show what impact he made from that point of view. I think he was just there to put fires out, just facilitate the Spurs going forward. Obviously, it was a period, again, where we were under pressure, but I thought it was a really good cameo. And hopefully, if he's 100% fit and can start getting his form back, he's going to be really, really valuable from now to the end of the season. So yeah, I probably would like to see him come back into the starting 11 next week, obviously depending on what Ange thinks. We know we're training and everything, but I thought it was a good cameo from him and a good return.
Yeah, I was saying to you on the way out of the game, you know, need to get back to that OG midfield.
Bissouma,
the OG. Maddison, Pape Sarr.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to see in the next game. And I think that gives us a lot of balance in that midfield as well, especially with the way that Bentancur is playing at the moment. But finally, Brennan Johnson, the match winner, 7s all round for Brennan. And it was actually a shocking display for Brennan Johnson when he came on, to be honest. I was getting my lines ready to absolutely lay into him in the post-match, but he did get in the back post. How many times have we seen Brennan Johnson now arrive late at that back post and just put it into the empty net? I think it's a really good trait of his that he keeps consistently making those runs. No one else is making those runs, so you got to give him credit for that. But apart from that, I thought he was really poor, to be honest. Every time it came to him, it was bouncing off him. He couldn't make it stick. He couldn't control the ball. When he did, the passes were absolutely shocking. So I thought that moment of him arriving late at the back post was probably the only positive thing that he did do after coming on. But it won us the game.
Well, there was a couple of occasions I think there was one occasion Son played him in on the right-hand side and he got a shot off, which was a pretty tame shot right at Steele. But that was a decent opening for him. He tried to take Estepinian on the same way Decky did, but I felt like he just wasn't able to impact it as much as Decky was down that right-hand side. And there was that one moment, near the end of the game, he dribbles the ball off the pitch after a really good ball from Højbjerg, and you're thinking, oh God, is it going to, is that going to sum up Johnson's cameo? Which, wasn't the best. But as you say, he uses pace in such an effective way when you get to the back post. When you get a run on your defender like that, running, because defenders don't like running towards goal like attackers do. So it's so hard for a defender to stop a run like that at the back post when you're playing it across the face of goal. And the timing of the run, getting on the end of it, and as much as it looks like an easy finish, it was bobbling a bit coming towards him. So he just had to make sure it gets good contact, control it. Obviously, it's an empty net from like 5 yards, so it would have been one of the misses of the season if he does miss it. But it definitely doesn't look as easy as maybe it was with the ball bobbling. But it could easily got that wrong. So made sure to control the finish. And those runs, I think Sterling used to say it, those runs to the back post can get you, between 5 and 10 goals a season, because it's just so hard to stop. You'd whip the ball across the face of goal when you're as fast as Johnson, then it's hard to stop. So yeah, gave him the 7 in the end. And
when he did score, he was like the coolest man in the stadium, wasn't he? He just scored that goal and just walked off to the fans and started celebrating, doing that João Pedro celebration. And there's a bit of a thing going on now in the Premier League, isn't there, with just a bit of shithousery doing opposition team celebrations, but I love to see it.
Maybe it was a bit of relief from Brendan. Just like he just made sure he didn't want to miss that, because what a big moment. But yeah, he did seem like one of the coolest guys in the stadium at that point, because everyone was going crazy and he's just chill.
Yeah. Let's finish off talking about Ange Postecoglou. We give him a 7s all round. I think it's hard to kind of talk in a negative light about anything about his starting lineup, because you're looking at Bissouma just come back from malaria and also just coming back from the AFCON, Sonny as well, just coming back from a very taxing Asia Cup. So I'm not going to put that too much down on him why they didn't start, albeit they probably would have been better options if they were fully fit. But in terms of game management, is a weird one for me to assess, because I felt like when he did make those changes, we did have a massive drop-off, because when he made those changes, I felt like we were on top. And then after the changes, Brighton really came and swung the momentum in the game. But those are the players that won us the game. I thought Bissouma was brilliant in the middle of the park, and Sonny obviously played that ball to Brendan Johnson at the back post, but all 3 of those players did come on off the bench that Ange made to impact the game. So it's a hard one to assess.
Yeah, I know it's a weird one, because if I'm looking at how Ange himself impacts the game, obviously, again, half-time, Maddison said after the game, he gave him a bit of kick up the arse, and clearly they came out a bit of a more intense team, more aggressive in that second half, and dragged us back in the game. But then he did make those changes, and as much as, yes, Son and Johnson linked up for the goal, which obviously you've got to give Ange credit for, in terms of how it impacted our overall performance, it wasn't that positively. I thought the one mistake, I think he probably got the subs right, apart from the Johnson one. He, in a weird way, I know Johnson scored the winner. I do think Ange should have left Kulusevski on. I think that would have been the better move at that time. Then bring Johnson a bit later if Kulusevski doesn't create anything in the next 10 to 15 minutes, because Kulu was starting to look really creative and really sharp. So that was a mistake, I would say, and I think that probably impacted our right-hand side negatively. But obviously, bringing Son on was positive. Bissouma on was the right call as well. He impacted the game really well. And obviously, our 2 subs linked for the winner. So overall, I think he managed the game well, but obviously it was against a very, very difficult Brighton side, which we had some difficulty controlling that game.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is.
And also, we didn't mention Højbjerg, who I thought had a terrible cameo. I thought he was really bad.
Ben Davis both came on at the same time. I don't think either did much, to be honest.
I think Højbjerg had a really bad cameo. I was really frustrated with him.
What don't you think he did well?
I think he was very careless with the ball. I don't think he comes on to be aggressive. I don't think he was as aggressive as he should have been. And I just think he looked a bit reckless at times, which was quite frustrating to see.
It's a weird one with Højbjerg, because I feel like when he starts games, sometimes you see those traits in him. And then when he comes on late in games to impact, I feel like he usually does well, but yesterday just wasn't that case, was it?
I didn't like his cameo.
But look, that is our player ratings for the 2-1 win against Brighton.